Hello everyone and welcome back to Fly From Home. Quick video for you today because apparently I've been living under a rock and there has been a big PMDG 737 update. And as a person who flies this interesting aeroplane in real life, I thought I would give you my first views or my first impressions of what this update has done to the aircraft. I've always been reasonably pleased with how it flies in the sim. There's a couple of bits which are a bit inaccurate, but for the most part, it's quite spot on. But apparently, this new update is a big improvement. So I'm going to take off here from East Midlands. We've got the real world weather set because apparently there's a weather radar now. Amazing. We're going to fly the Trent 3 Papa departure, just pretty straightforward departures, just a left-hand turn up towards the Trent VOR. And up on the way up there, we're going to climb up to 10,000 feet or flight level 100 and do some general handling checks to just see what the handling is like, because on this channel we love to check out flight dynamics of Microsoft Flight Simulator aeroplanes. So I'm going to do my lineup checks before we actually do the lineup. So those are coming on. That one there, that's going off. The strobe lights are coming on. That's going on there, and we're going to go weather radar on my side and terrain on the other side. So hopefully, oh, we've got some traffic apparently. Oh, hello. Well, that's only slightly heartbreaking. Okay, he is turned off, so let's get lined up. Assume we're clear to take off, so auto throttle is arms. Oh, check out that lineup. Born to fly. Right, okay, so now one of the things that's supposed to be different is the run-up supposed to be a little bit longer, which, yeah, I guess looks a bit longer to me. Let's try it again. Definitely wouldn't be something you'd be doing in real life, but rather than N1 to settle all the way back down. So we're just looking at the time it takes for the N1 percentage to go up to 40%. So if I set the throttles up to about 40 there, yeah, that does look a lot more realistic than it did before. And let's go for toga, set thrusts, thrust sets. Check.
E1, rotate. Positive rate of climb.
Here's coming up. Flight director's asking for more than 20 degrees nose up, but I'm not going to do that because it's not supposed to pitch over 20 degrees on departure. And we're in N1. We're not going to speed up until 3,000 feet because we're at East Midlands, and it's got funny departure, but I'm going to go L now. There we go. Plug the up speed, let it start to accelerate now. The auto trim spinning away, or the speed trim. And flex 1.
Traffic.
Conveniently ignore that traffic. Flaps up. So in this phase of flight, it feels very good, but it always did. And 1 to go. Up, no lights. Go VNAV out as well. See, I'm doing a terrible job of following the flight directors. That's why you don't try and fly one of these things single pilot while hand flying, but I'm sure you'll forgive me, given the whole point of this exercise is to check the hand flying characteristics. So as we level off here, throttle should come off, nose should drop. Yeah, so as you can see, almost no trim input required for me to trim the aircraft into level flight, because the nose down input from the thrust pitch couple almost does that for you, so that's very realistic. Obviously kind of depends on the CG of the aircraft, but from my relatively limited experience on the 737NG, I mostly fly the Classic. I've only just started flying the NG, but that's certainly how I remember. And I do usually hand fly departures when I'm on the line, so I've got a pretty good reference for what this should feel like. And yeah, the aircraft is feeling nice and stable. Very easy to hold an attitude once she's trimmed out and leveled out. So let's set flight level 100. Altimeter standard. And hit the alt intervene. Now, as the power comes in, the nose should come up. So I'm just going to let go of the yoke. And we should see the pitch start to rise. Up it comes. And you can see I've not touched the pitch at all. And yeah, it's just pitching up into the climb without me having to put any pitch input. This is me now. I'm adding that myself. I've stuck a little circular route in that takes us to Trent VOR and back again, but just because we're going to do some general handling, I'm just going to go level change up to 100. Now, normally you've probably seen me do these kinds of general handling maneuvers in the light aircraft that I review on this channel. So we're going to do the exact same stuff in this aircraft. So there's a bit of cloud about, but there's a reasonable reference with the ground just over there. So let's trim out first of all. And allow the thrust to stabilize a bit, and then we'll get rid of the auto throttle, because you are, when you're flying by hand, supposed to have the auto throttle disconnected as per Boeing's instructions. What's it saying there? Check target altitude. Okay, whatever. Right. Okay. First things first. We've already seen the thrust pitch couple works with power coming off and coming back on again, so I'm quite happy with that. That's pretty nice. Next thing, let's just see how she feels in turns. So I'm going to throw her into a normal sort of turn. So let's keep the heading bug where it is, turn the flight directors off, and we'll go for a 25-degree angler back, which is normally what we would turn at in manual flight on the line. And yeah, just require a little bit of nose up input. Unlike with a light aircraft, it is acceptable to trim into turns in a in a larger aeroplane like this, because it is very heavy on the yoke in real life. So a couple of clicks of trim there. Normally not what I'd be doing in a light aircraft though, but that feels pretty good. So let's increase the angle of bank now. Let's go towards the 45.
Bank angle.
We're getting the bank angle warning over 30 degrees, which is realistic. Yeah, a lot more pitch. You can see the nose is trying to drop, but the aircraft's very, very stable, even at this increased angle of bank. We're losing a bit of altitude, oh, sorry, a little bit of airspeed, so I'm going to add some thrust to compensate for that. Again, realistic, higher angle of bank, tighter turn, more drag, and therefore more thrust required. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I do in a light aircraft. I'm going to anticipate by a third of the angle of bank, so about 15 degrees before
Bank angle.
we get there. I'm going to start rolling wings level, relaxing the pitch attitude a little bit, coming off that trim. Yeah, there we go, nice and easy. Coming back on the power as well. So quite pleased with that. It certainly does feel, well, how the simulator feels, because I've never done that maneuver in the real aeroplane. You're not allowed to, obviously, but in the sim, we certainly do practice that kind of thing, and yeah, it feels pretty good. Next is another thing you're never going to do in the real aircraft, hopefully ever, but because this is what we do on this channel, we're going to try a stall. So see, the aircraft's all sort of configured clean, everything's up and away. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the thrust levers all the way back to idle and pitch to maintain at flight level 100. And just see what she does. Now, a swept wing jet should always have relatively benign stall characteristics, and I'm talking about the swept wing commercial jet. I know nothing about fighter planes, probably a little bit more edgy. But what should happen is that the aircraft pitches down into the stall and bobs your uncle, basically, and pretty much unstalls itself, or at least that's how the 737 should do it. So see what happens. That's why there's no stick pusher on a 7.3, because it doesn't need that input. It should pretty much just do it itself. I'm going to add a little bit of nose up trim to make it slightly easier for me here, but not too much, because I don't want to make the recovery more difficult. See how long it's taking for the airspeed to wash off? It's because we're in that kind of airspeed and altitude range where the NG's wing is very efficient and there's not a great deal of drag. Plus, jet engines don't provide the same amount of drag that a windmilling propeller does. So a piston aircraft with the prop full fine and the throttle at idle, propeller's providing a lot of drag. A jet engine, as long as it's running and there's fuel going in the front, it's always providing some degree of thrust. So that's sort of adding to the fact that we are creeping down little bit by little bit. You can see the yellow maneuver margin tape coming up on the left hand side. We'll get there eventually.
2 hours later.
Airspeed low.
Okay.
Airspeed low.
Getting the airspeed low warning, little bit of stick shaker. Let's see if we can get her right into the stall. Okay, you can see the nose starting to drop. We're in a unrecoverable descent now. So the aircraft is fully stalled, so let's go for the recovery. I'm going to drop the nose, add some thrust, but I'm not going to firewall the throttles because that could pitch the nose up and put us into a secondary stall. As we start to accelerate, I'm going to start to add some more thrust and very gently pitch the aircraft back up. See, I've put the flight path vector on now. There's a little bit of a cheat aid to show me when I am flying level, which is useful when you are flying without the flight directors on. And there we go, I'm just going to set thrust to the little max continuous bug on there. So yeah, pretty good. I'd say that's pretty realistic, honestly. PMDG doing a reasonable job of simulating the characteristics of this aircraft, doing that sort of thing. I mean, let's face it, the vast majority of people are not going to be doing much of this stuff, flying this airplane in Microsoft Flight Sim. They're going to be flying A to B, doing simulated route sectors. But it's nice to know, isn't it? Now, the other part of the handling characteristics, apparently they've improved a lot, are the flare characteristics on landing. And for that, I'm going to have to go back and land the damn plane, aren't I? So, first things first, let's bring the flight directors back. Go heading and Alt and throw A to command. While we have a look at here, center fix for 09, let's pop that back in. And LNAV. Now, they apparently have improved VNAV as well. I mean, I'm not really used to using VNAV because of how rubbish the VNAV is on the 7.3 Classic. Usually just use it to drop out of descent, and then the sort of terminal phase below 10,000 feet where you're just usually on level change and tweaking the descent profile based on the distance to go and all that kind of stuff. But let's see. From 09 ILS for 09 today, it's East Mids. 2000 is the platform, so let's set that. Okay, so I've just done a brief setup for this one. Let's get the courses put in, 088. There we go. And I mean, we know this thing can fly on ILS, it does it very nicely, so this part isn't too important, but we've got the courses tuned and the frequencies in 10935 both sides. We don't have an ident yet, interesting. Got 393 on the Echo Mike Whiskey as well on there, and it's all in the box. So yeah, ILS 09, go missed, straight ahead, right turn, Echo Mike, or left turn, sorry, Echo Mike Whiskey. Alright, that's fine. So what I'm going to try and do is hand fly as much of this as possible, because that's the point. So as we're getting close to the localizer, I'll probably knock the autopilot and the auto throttle back out. The workload is going to be pretty high, so forgive me for any stupid mistakes. There probably will be a few. But I'm going to do my best to give you the feeling of what this aeroplane is hand flying like as the flaps come out and the thrust changes on the approach and all that kind of good stuff. So we'll see how she does, basically. Approach checklist is... so yeah, we've got yeah, we do have an ident now on both, and QNH 1013 set and cross checked, so that's approach checklist complete. It's just the landing to come now. Looking pretty on profile. What I do need to check is a 2D approach at some point, because apparently they've improved the VNAV logic on 2D approaches, but I guess that's something for another day. I try not to do too many of these 737 videos, because I know most of you guys on this channel are here for light aircraft content, not for airliners, but I was interested, and I thought some of you might be interested too in doing a little bit of a manual handling check on the on this updated aeroplane. It'll be really interesting to see how the big stuff handles in Flight Sim 24, because I think they've pretty much nailed light aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. The handling characteristics of most light aircraft are really, really quite good, especially stuff like the Just Flight aeroplanes, the Comanche, A2A Comanche, a lot of the flying iron, warbirds, really, really good handling characteristics, very, very realistic. Whereas the bigger aeroplanes, and bear in mind, I'm reasonably new to the world of swept-wing jets, are a bit of a sore point, I think, and a bit where Microsoft Flight Simulator is probably losing out to X-Plane. But I think it's all going in the right direction. They will definitely get it right eventually. I think one of the points that kind of isn't really where it should be is the rudder behavior. Like, you can get away with moving the rudder on a swept-wing aircraft far more than you can in real life. Like, basically the rudder is tiny inputs most of the time, because you get a massive roll response. So how we always say, you know, the secondary effect of yaw is roll. In a swept-wing aircraft, the primary effect of rudder input is roll with a secondary bit of yaw thrown in there, which is why you basically use tiny amounts most of the time. Most of the time when you're just turning the aircraft, you don't touch the rudder pedals at all, you just rest your feet on them. But coming down final approach, you steer the aircraft with aileron input, which feels very alien to me coming from a propeller aircraft background. Let's look at the range here. Come up to 5 miles, so yeah, living in VNav and go speed check laps 1. Yeah, so that's very alien to me, and it's one of the things you have to kind of get used to flying a jet as opposed to a prop aircraft of any size, because turboprops are perfectly happy to come down the approach with you ruddering them down the centre line, keeping the wings nice and level, which is always the technique I would teach. Let's assume we're clear for the approach. You can see I'm just trying to maintain the aircraft on that. We're getting a bit of a glide slope, so I'm trying to keep the aircraft on that as we're coming down, maintain the CDA. But because the NG is a lot cleverer than the Classic, if you put a good VNav profile in, if you do the work on the legs page and put some altitudes in to drive it down, it will sort of do all the work for you. I mean, at this point in the Classic, I'd be level change and controlling the speed manually and all that kind of stuff, and trying to finesse it down by using either vertical speed or little inputs, manual inputs on the throttles. See that blue line on the ED? That's not there on the real aircraft. That's just a PMDG thing to show you where the position of your throttles are in real life versus the position of the aircraft throttles in the sim, so you can sync them up for when you disconnect the auto throttle, which I very much appreciate. It's a cool little feature. Let's go for 5. Okay, manual flight, manual thrust. Four lock. Start the approach as well now. For outer lines, checked. Okay, we're looking pretty good. 7 miles. Let's get gear down 15 by 6 and fully configured by 4. I'm going for a flap 30 approach. Nice long runway at Eastman's. Got auto brake 2 set. Speed's a little high. Set this to approach altitude as well. Get that done. Okay, let's go gear down. 15. Start switch is continuous. And really, yeah, really quite realistic to real life now. We've got a fair bit of weight on board with a bunch of fuel, and basically just got the throttles at idle until the gear's down. Coming up to 4 miles now, so flap 30. And so what's the final approach? Speed 134. The 5 knot additive, that's set. And I'm coming off the glide slope because I'm not paying attention to anything. And like I said, this is why we don't fly single pilot in 737s. You see the drag's coming in now because of flap 30 being set, so 30 green light. Landing checklist. So cabin secure, engine start switch is continuous, speed brake is armed, landing gear is down, flaps 30 plan, 30 indicator green lights, 1000 man lands. 506 barometer approach altitude set. See how the speed takes just kind of jiggling up and down a little bit with the disturbances in the air. That's quite good. That's pretty realistic. You sort of feel more than see little lifts on the approach in a 737. You can't pay too much attention to that speed tape because it is going to sort of wiggle up and down a little bit, so you can't overreact by jiggling the throttles about. So all you're going to do to yourself in that kind of situation is constantly be pitching the nose up and down with the thrust pitch couple, 100 above, and that's visual land.
Minimums.
Lands. Get that lift as we're coming into the ground effect. I'm pushing through it. It's pretty good.
40, 30, 20, 10.
Alright, that's nice. That's very nice. Speed brakes up, reverse is normal. Yeah, definitely felt like I had a lot more control over the aeroplane in the flare. Still felt nice and heavy, nice and weighty. And as I was tweaking the nose up, because it is more of a tweak up, a check more than a proper flare in a 73NG. The Classic has much more of a proper flare to it, but as I just sort of tweaked the nose up, you sort of felt that the descent was arrested but not completely stopped. Like it used to be very, very easy to float this thing all the way down the runway with a minimal change in pitch for the flare, but that was much, much nicer. Felt really good actually, so awesome. Well done PMDG. Don't always 100% agree with all of their decisions in development and all the rest of it, but I think they've done a really good job with this. So let's get the speed brakes away and do the after landing flow. So yeah, conclusion from me is that really nice actually, big improvement. If you do like to hand fly your airliners in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I would definitely recommend having some fun with the PMDG 73 now. Maybe do some base training type profiles, flying some circuits, that sort of thing, and just appreciate the handling dynamics a little bit more. Is it perfect? No, it still isn't 100%, but I'm hoping that Flight Sim 24 is going to be that big leap that we're all looking for. That really brings the big aeroplane handling up to the same sort of standard as the little plane handling is, because I think the GA aircraft are pretty great in Microsoft Flight Simulator. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you want to see some more 737 content, or if you want me to shut up and start making videos about light aeroplanes again. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Thank you, bye bye.